let's talk about how to buy a Panama hat. Now, you're out there in the world and you've decided you want a Panama hat. You've heard about how good they are to wear on hot days, how beautiful they are, and that they're crafted by hand. And so you're digging around, and you could go to a local hat shop and they'll have a couple, and their quality be all right probably, but you won't have much of a choice, and they don't really know what they're doing. It's a very specialised field, and the guys who specialise in it, well, there's three of us, and we don't live where you live, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. So, when you're buying a hat, first thing you got to work out is your size. Now, Panama hats will all shrink, every single one of them. Some of them, a quarter of a centimetre, because they're like a Fino Monte Cristi. It won't shrink much at all. And then some of them, like the Brissa weaves, like this is like a cheap tourist Panama. I don't do these. These ones will shrink 2 full sizes. And it's just because the weave is so loose and sloppy that it'll come down a lot. So whatever you do, buy a hat that's a little bit bigger than what you require. And measure your head, there's instructions there. If you're a 59, then you want to get a 60. But leave it up to me to work that out, or whoever you're ordering from. Different hats behave different ways. So I've got my all-time favourites, the Charmer. And the Charmer, it shrinks 2 centimetres. Not always, but often. So when I ship those out, I ship out a slightly larger hat. You get good at it after a while, but once you've worked out your size and you've worked out which style of hat you're going to get, then just ask. And when I get an order, I always ask for their exact measurement, and then I adjust it up, and I include these little spacers. A little bag of these guys comes with each hat, and the spacers have foam on one side and tape on the other, and they tape on the inside of your band. So you tape them against the hat here, and they just sit there. And what you do is you put in, I'm a sweaty guy, right? And I usually run 4 to 6 around the back of my hat, and then within 2 weeks I've taken out 2 or 3, and you let it settle in, and then the hat will find its right size. And ideally there's always one left, right? But sometimes not. Sometimes if it's taken a long time and they've cured slowly, then it will adjust and everything will be cool. So get your size right, and then it will sit nicely on your head. When the wind comes up, you'll tug on it from the front and it'll wedge on your forehead. It won't blow down the road, and it's just a far different experience. If it's too small, it's terrible. If it's too big, well, you can work with it, but it kind of looks like it's a bucket on your head. So get the sizing right. Talk to them. Next one, avoid the fake Panamas. So pretty much any hat on the internet is called a Panama hat. Most of them are made out of plastic or paper, and they're like wearing a rubber hat on your head in boiling hot sunshine. It cooks your brain. It's terrible to wear, and people often complain, they say, listen, I've got this Panama, I'm always hot in it, and I'm like, I don't think it's a Panama, because Panamas, they're the coolest hat you can wear in hot weather. So they bring the hat in and I go, all right, this is a polypropylene hat, and they told me it was a Panama, it says Panama, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's fakes. So if it's cheap, it's probably a fake. That's your best measure. But if you're dealing with a hat maker who specialises in Panamas, or a reputable company, they're not going to bullshit you. They'll tell you the truth. But be careful. And the other thing you got to avoid is cheap tourist Panamas. So not all Panamas are created equal. And this is what they punch out of Ecuador. This is their major production. And this is what everyone buys. Every tourist shop's got them there. They got them all over the world. And they're a very cheap, loose weave. They feel soft, feel like you're getting something nice, high quality. They have a natural edge on here where it's been woven back into itself, which pretty much always does this. Just frays. And when you wear it, it looks wonky, and the brim falls apart and shrinks. So if you can watch out for the fake Panamas, you're halfway there. And the other half is, don't get a cheapie. The cheapies just aren't worth it. If you're going to just wear it for a 2-week holiday and throw it away, fine, do it. But if you want a hat that you got to wear for the next 5 years, get a real Panama. Now the next one is hat grading and quality. Oh, it's a big contentious matter. Everyone talks about how many inches of threads and get their little measuring squares out, and I've got it all here, and I do very high-end hats as well. Not a lot online, mainly direct to people. And it's just not true. They're choosing a hat based on the fineness of the cloth, essentially, rather than on the quality of the finish, the cut and style of the hat, and the reputation of the maker, right? And you can get a Monte Cristi from Ecuador for $200. They're Monte Cristis, but they're rubbish. They're not good Monte Cristis. And that's always the catch with getting hooked into the grading thing. And some guys just can't help it. They just got to get into the specifics of it. But the specifics of a high quality hat are more about the evenness of the weave and the quality of the blocking and the quality of the finish, and often about the edge trim as well. So cheap hats tend to have a natural edge. We do all our hats with a sew-in edge. So we sew the edge there and we put a plastic wire inside it. And that means that the brim, no matter what you do to it, doesn't get wobbly. It's always consistent. So when you're wearing it around, it looks beautifully trimmed, like you've steamed it and adjusted it every single time. And you haven't. You just put it on your head. And if you don't do that sort of stuff, well, the brim ends up looking like this. And it looks like that in about 2 weeks. So don't get fixated on the quality. You want a high quality hat if you can afford it. The high quality ones take a little bit more work because they're finer. Like I do a lot of grade 10s and grade 12s, which are quite fine hats, but you've got to care for them more. And I'm rough on hats, so I tend to wear grade 3 through to grade 6, and that's in my grading system, which in most manufacturers that's like a grade 8 to grade 20, right? So relax about the grading. If you're talking to a real hat maker and they're talking about a high quality pheno, then it is, and they will ship you a real hat. Next one is the truth about rolling Panamas. Now, you can, but you wreck your hat. And this is your traditional rollable Panama. They call it an Optimo. It has this center crease through here, and you can fold it in half and you can roll it up. And it works, but it always breaks your hat in the end. And if you leave it rolled up for very long, the brim will end up looking terrible. And the guy sent a photo of me in his very high quality, grade 20, beautiful Optimo, and he said it shrunk terribly and the brim looked terrible and he looked slightly retarded. No, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, you get what I mean. And I felt for him because he diligently tried to find a high quality hat that he could roll. But the truth was, Panamas aren't good to roll. I've got videos on it as well where I talk about it. But my favourite solution is to go for a crushable. So to use a crown that is really strong and durable, and you can beat it up, you can travel all over the world with it, it breathes nicely, and the brim, reinforced, always looks good. So you can roll a Panama, but if you go down that path, you're 99% likely to fail. So see what you think. Next one is find a hat that suits you. This is the number one most important thing. You've worked out all the other things about Panama hats, but what's going to look good on your head? And I've fitted, I reckon, 300,000 hats. When someone walks into my shop, I look at them and I go, all right, I'm going to put the best looking hat in their head. And I do. And that's how you sell Panama hats. So I'm really, really good at it. And often you see people who walk in and they've got a hat and that looked really good on a model in a photo and all that sort of stuff. But when they wear it, it's just the wrong hat. You know, if you've got a big square face, you need a big square crown. Like that kind of crown. If you've got a long, thin face, then you want to get something more like that, which is more pointed. It balances things out. You want the width here to be about the same as the width up there. My personal favourite is the New York crown, which is kind of in between both of them. It's got a nice angular edge. So when you're choosing your hat, you've got to find the one that will suit you the best. And I'm afraid there's no shortcut. You can get into shape faces and body mass and a whole lot of variables, skin types, clothing, but it's easier just to ask. And when someone comes into my shop, it's just so easy. I just put the best 5 hats that will suit them on them, and then they choose between them. But you're doing this online, so you can't do that. So your best solution is to go to the link below and send me your photo, and I'll tell you which hats will look good on you. You can look around the world and find versions of those that suit you, but I can cut through all the crap and tell you what will work on your head. Now, some people look good in all hats, and if you're one of those people, I'll tell you, and then you can order anything you want. And if you've got a weird face, which most people do, you'll lean a certain way. And I guess the last thing is, why the hell do you want to own a Panama hat? What's the point? And I'm sure you've done a fair bit of research, but I can tell you, having done this for a long time, that in summertime, they are the best hat to wear. I wear them, at the moment it's 4 degrees outside, and I wear Panama hats the whole time. I'll put felts on if it's raining, but I always have this urge to take them off because I feel like a little claustrophobic. I feel sweaty, and they've always got the leather bands inside them. I hate leather bands. They just leave a big red mark across your forehead. They make you sweaty. They're just not as good. And I love Panamas because they breathe. They breathe and they cool you, and they are comfortable to wear. And I've got a fixation on linen. Linen, everywhere's linen. And I love cottons, and I love wool as well, but I have to have a lining between my skin and wool, otherwise it gets itchy. And really, you buy a Panama hat because they're beautifully made, hand-woven works of art, and you don't own anything that's completely made by hand. It just doesn't exist in our world anymore. But these hats can't be made by machine. Only a human being can weave this. It's just beautiful art. And then you wear it around, feels really good, and you get lots of compliments. Everyone loves you up, and I enjoy getting compliments. It's fun. Anyway, I hope that helps. Good luck on your adventure. It's worth it.